Okay, right. Great stuff. So let's carry on. So we're moving into the world of learning curves. Pretty straight, actually, if you just follow and understand what the theory is. The theory is not talking about individual events. It's really talking about averages. And I think once you get that, you're there. And I'm going to try and keep it short in this box here. So it says here, so that if you set this table up like this, you'll never get this wrong. It says here, this business here, in-house vehicle maintenance, new procedures have been introduced. So the first, these are the units, if you like. The first unit takes, I'm going to put on average. The relationship is about average. The learning rate is about the average. So don't get that, don't get it twisted. Get that right. It's about the average. And then we have the total, which you could get asked questions on. But this learning rate is about the average. So it says the first service took an hour, which is, I'm going to use 60 minutes. And therefore, in total, that would have been 60 minutes. Then it says that the second took 48 minutes. So if the second took 48 minutes, that means in total, when they made both units, it would have taken both units 60 plus 48, which would have been 108. Which means on average, to make 2 units, you have spent 54 minutes. That's the thinking here. It's not that the learning curve is between the hour and the 48 minutes. No. It's about average. The learning rate was observed on. I mean, it's actually comes. It's called the Wright's law, actually, and it's to do with averages. It's the average. It's averages, right? So as output increases, average time falls. So this is the theory. It's about averages. I keep emphasizing that. So then I'm just going to draw a line here. This was for the highway van, and let's look at the minibus. So this was the highway van. This is the minibus. It says here for the minibus, your first one took 90 minutes, so the total is 90. And then it says that the second one took 81 minutes. So in total, that was 90 plus 81, which is 171, which means the average time was 85.5. Just change my pen color now. Oh no, I can't up there. It's over here. So it means that if I'm trying to understand what the learning rate is, I need to find what percentage this fell by a certain percentage. This fell by a certain percentage. What is that? So in effect, that's 54 over 60 for the highway van, and that's 85.5 over 90. And 54 over 60 is 9 over 10, isn't it? So that's 90%. And 85.5 over 90, 85.5 divided by 90 is 95%. So this is 90% and this is 95%. So the answer is D. Yes, the answer is D. Okay, great. So that's 100. So always set it up like this and you're a winner. You're not going to lose. Yes, anything else might be, I think, tricky, disastrous actually. Okay, let's look at the next one. And I'm just always I'm going to always do it in that little box and try and keep it there. So now we're talking about totals. When it says how long will it take to make a certain number of units, well, let's just discuss what's happening here. I'll just start again. I'll just put units, and I will put average, always important, and then total. So in terms of my first unit, it says that you spent 8 hours, and then therefore there's a total of 8 hours there. So that means that it says that how long will it take to make? So it gives us the learning rate of 80%. So that means the average for 2 units is 80% of 8 hours, which is 6.4. And so therefore the average is 6.4, but the total to make 2 units in total is 2 times 6.4, which is 12.4. 4.8. I mean, technically, I can find the time it took to make the second unit, because if it took 8 hours to make the first unit, it must have taken 4.8 hours to make the second unit. That's why the average is 6.4. Okay, right. Then we have, sorry, then this doubles, because this formula is about doubling. It's like, so the formula basically says, I probably should have said at the beginning, that as your units double, your average time falls by a certain percentage. That's what this theory is arguing. Then I have at 80% again, times 6.4, which is 5.12. And I can find the total time, therefore, for 4 units, which is 5.12 times 4, which is 20.48. This doubles again to 8. And then I have 80% again, times 5.12, and that is 4.096. So I know what the average time is, and I can find the total time. If the average time is 4.096, and I have 8 units, therefore this times this gives me 32.768. And then now for 16 units, I arrive here. 80% times 4.096 gives us 3.2768, and therefore a total time, this times this, of 52.488. So I now have the time it takes to make 16 units. So that's, I mean, this is the total time it takes to make 16 units here, the first 16 units. So then it says, then I can double this again to 32, and I get 80% times 3.2768, and I get 2.62144. Multiply this by this, and you will get 83.88608. So now I have the total time. So I have the total time it takes to make 32 units. I have the total time it took to make 16 units. So the time it took to make the last 16 must be the difference between making the first 16 units and making the last 16 units, and that therefore is this thing here minus this. So 83.8664 minus 52, because I have my totals here, you see. And when you do that, you arrive at C, 31 point, I think it's 31.4 something, maybe 3 something, but it arrives at this. So what am I saying? How do we deal with this? This layout means you know what the total times are, and you also know what the average time is in terms of finding the learning rate. But it's about the units doubling, right, as you go along. And that's just what the rule is, just an observation that we now use. I mean, we have a better formula, but at this level, that's what we sort of work with. Okay, great. So let's look at what's happening here. 155, it says the same thing. So practice this. I know you're practicing this before you're watching these videos. A new system has been introduced, and the first repair, unit 1, took 2 hours. So average time, I'm going to use it in minutes, 120 minutes, and total time, therefore, 120 minutes. Then it says that we see a demonstration of a 90% learning factor. So for the second unit, on average, 90% of 120 is 108. So on average, we spent 108. But in actual sense, that means, therefore, the total time must have been 216. Right? Because that's the average. 108 times 2 is 216. I can now find the time it took to make the second unit if I wanted. If it took that time to make the first, I can find the time it took to make the second. Okay, great. Then we double that again. For 90% of this 108 takes us to 97.2. That, if you like, is the, again, 90% of that, and I can multiply this by this, and I will get 388.8. This question is asking, what time would it take to make the first 4 units? Well, that's the total time it takes to make the first 4 units, 388. So it could be A or D. And then we double this again, because they want to know how long it takes to make the last 4 units. If I do 90% of this, I get 87.48. Multiply these two together, I have 699.84. So the time it takes to make the next 4 units must be the difference between this and this. And subtract these two from each other, and you get 311 minutes. So the answer is A. And the final, learning rate question is, again, we're not changing tact. It's the same process. So units, average, total. So units here, it says that you've made a product in 6 hours. So total 6. We need 16 units. So let's just build up slowly. 2, that's 70% here, times 6 is 4.2. And therefore, the total time is 8.4. Right? Then I double again to 4. So now I need 70% of 4.2. And this is 2.94. Find the total time. I have 11.76. Double again to 8. And that's 70% again times 2.94. And I have 2.058. Multiply that by 8. And I have 16.464. So this question says that 16 units are made, 16 units are required. So I found the first 8. Now I need the last 8 because it's the difference I need. So again, I do 70% times this, 70%, right? 70% times 2.058, and I get 1.4406, and therefore the total time becomes 23 hours, if you like, and then you have that. So the question is really asking, how long does it take to make the last 8, which is really this time over here. So 23 minus 16.464 gives us roughly 6.5856, which is roughly 6.6 hours, which is what's going on over here. Cool, great stuff. So those are your learning curve questions. I'll see you in the next videos.